it's Maria. I'm a third year medical student at the University of Cambridge, and today I'm going to be telling you about the buzzword your university application needs, super-curriculars. And before you ask, no, they're not the same thing as extracurriculars. Super-curriculars are activities which you do in addition to your A-levels or admissions tests, but they're academically related. They're something that university admissions teams are really keen on. A, because they show interest in the course, far beyond what you have to be doing, and B, because they can help showcase certain skills you have. It's also worth remembering that not all the activities you can be doing are made equal. Some look more impressive than others, and some are more relevant to certain degrees. While there are no strict requirements for what supercurriculars have to be, I think having a few examples might be helpful to you guys. Reading around your course. This can take the form of books or scientific papers. It does go beyond the port of call for your subject, so it is classed as a supercurricular activity. I think the main value you can get out of it though is in what it makes you then do. Does it make you reflect on your subject in a new way, or does it motivate you to then do a certain activity like getting work experience or doing a talk? Realistically, anybody can pick up a book and read it or claim to have done so. So I think the main value of reading and talking about this in your personal statement is then explaining why that has been valuable to you and having a really strong sense of reflection in there. It could also take the form of doing an EPQ. So this is something I'll have to admit I didn't do, but I think it's really valuable. So generally it involves picking a research topic and doing research for it, then writing and presenting about it. It develops a whole host of skills. Also, it's graded, so there is very clear evidence that you've actually put in the work, and it can really showcase whether you've done well or not at it. Entering essay competitions. Essay competitions are a really valuable supercurricular. Not only do you tend to develop the same sort of skills that you do with an EPQ, but it's also a really good opportunity to shine. If you end up winning one of these competitions, there's usually a fair amount of prestige which comes with it. Also, you tend to get invited to award ceremonies or workshops. I remember when I went to one of those, I was told by an older student that it was almost like getting your foot in the door. I'm not sure if that's true, but it does look really good on an application. Even if you don't end up winning though, you can still have that opportunity to reflect and explain what you gained out of entering in terms of your research and your writing abilities. So yeah, I think that's a really useful supercurricular in particular. Another thing you can do is join or start a society which is relevant to your degree. So for example, I was part of MedSoc during my time at school, and that was massively useful for applications actually, because they even had a mock MMI session. You could start your own society, which actually isn't that difficult at school. It doesn't have to be MedSoc, it could be something related to medicine if that's what you're applying for. So for example, dissection society, or a specific specialty in medicine that you're interested in, for example, dermatology. You can also offer to do presentations at the society, which is really great in terms of developing your presentation skills, and it really looks quite good on an application. For example, you could be discussing your work experience or something like that. You can also enter Olympiads or science challenges. So the relevance of this actually depends on the degree you're applying to, but for things like science or maths, these are really greatly useful. A good example which comes to mind is the Cambridge Chemistry Challenge, which is run at St. Catherine's College. So if you win, you end up being invited to the college for a week where you develop your scientific and experimental skills, and that's really, really useful in making you stand out. Even if you don't do really well, it still shows interest in the subject, and you might even get a certificate, which is a good talking point. Last thing I want to mention is you can also visit subject-related places. So for something like history or classics, you could visit a museum. an archive or an excavation site. For things like art, you could be visiting a gallery. Remember, during sixth form, I went to see the Body Worlds exhibition in London. So for those of you who don't know, it's this massive exhibition with human prosections. So they've dissected all these bodies and they've presented them in really interesting ways with a lot of accompanying information, which is quite relevant and interesting. Like this, it's important in how you reframe the activity that you do. For example, you could just have read a book, but from that you could then have been led to do a presentation at a school society, or then to try and get a work experience in a related department. And that could be just as valuable as entering something like a big Olympiad. Hopefully that helped you guys, and I hope to see you at the next YouTube video.